Copyright laws apply to all contents of this video. Hello, JOMAJ Studios here, and this is our original fantasy action adventure, Like Water, The Next Age. Episode 8. At first, when Winston became the supreme leader of Hope, things didn't really seem that bad. For starters, the village had gained ultimate protection against bandits and monsters, for Winston operated like a superhero for the community. This is why at first, Winston hovering over the village throughout the day was welcomed by most in the community. Then people started getting arrested for crimes, with the people welcoming law and order, until prisoners were allowed to starve and be without basic amenities for months on end for crimes that were considered minor, such as stealing a loaf of bread or fighting with a friend over a little misunderstanding. Then not working was considered a crime, whether you were sick or not. This of course caused people to express concerns amongst themselves, which led to speaking out against Winston's being a crime. This of course caused many to want to leave the community, as they began to feel unsafe. But the people of Hope were no longer allowed to leave the village, in effect turning the community into a prison. Winston then introduced the law of mandatory tributes to him every afternoon, which brought a prison sentence if not carried out. Soon after, Winston threw out prison sentences altogether and replaced them with on-the-spot executions by his hand. Now, when Winston hovers over the village, there is a shadow of fear. That night, Craig took his wife with their 4-year-old son and began to head towards the exit of the village. "What are you guys doing?" whispered Jonathan, a close friend of his, from the shadow of a large oak tree nearby. "We can't stay here," whispered back Craig. "The wastelands aren't safe. Don't you remember what we went through out there?" highlighted Jonathan. "Yesterday, Joe was killed in front of me because Winston thought he was someone else. Then he shrugged it off the way you would if you found a stain on your shirt," replied Craig. "Accidents happen," said Jonathan. "Don't you get it? No one is safe here," responded Craig. He and his family resumed their plan to leave the village, with Jonathan following behind, only to have Winston land in front of them. "Planning to leave? Is this how you show thanks to your God?" said Winston, as Craig, his family, and Jonathan froze in total fear. "God? Come on, man, be serious," said a voice from behind. Winston turned to see Barnabas, Eyes, and Ruby standing at the entrance of the village, which they had opened. "What, you think you can defy me and live?" said Winston, engulfing his eyes and hands in purple flames. "Yes, madman, we mere mortals feel we can defy you and your God complex," said Barnabas. The young programmer then turned to his wife and said, "To prove my point, I'm not going to use any programming skills, which means I need you to parry while I strike." Eyes responded to his words with a little smirk. "What, you don't think I can exercise self-control without using any programming skills?" replied Barnabas. Winston, feeling mocked, shoots out a blast of energy at the young couple, who in turn avoided it by jumping in opposite directions. The blast revealed the fact that Barnabas had subtly encased them with Winston in a large dome made out of wind and moisture. Eyes, noticing what her husband had done, reacted by giving him a side eye. "What? Preventing collateral damage doesn't count," defended Barnabas. Winston takes to the sky and begins to rain down energy blasts at the young warriors. Barnabas in turn begins to advance forward, using both orthodox and unorthodox movements that displayed monkey-like agility. Any energy blast that he was able to avoid, Eyes blocked or deflected with her sword, while retaliating with attempted fatal strikes every time the opportunity presented itself, as a result of her mind-blowing agility. At one point, out of sheer frustration, Winston unleashed an energy wave that caused Barnabas to lose balance, which Eyes immediately remedied with a nudge that allowed him to resume his forward motion and land a well-placed aerial slap to the eyes of Winston, causing him to fall to the ground with temporary blindness. This allowed Barnabas to strike 12 of the self-proclaimed God's pressure points at lightning speed, and then spin into a stance right in front of Winston, who attempted to shoot an energy blast at Barnabas, who with a smile on his face didn't move an inch. What have you done to me?" screamed Winston. "I took away all your abilities, which I'm pretty sure you can't do to a god," mocked Barnabas. In a fit of rage, Winston throws a punch at Barnabas, who effortlessly catches it with his hand, and a facial expression that said, "Really?" Winston was thrown in prison, and the young couple spent a week in the community of Hope, where they shared the gospel, provided a clean water supply, and upgraded the community's farmlands. That is the end of episode 8, but before we go, answer this episode's question. Should the people of Hope keep Winston alive after all he has done? Give your answers in the comments below, as well as on our Facebook and Twitter page. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Until then, subscribe to JOMAJ Studio YouTube channel, add us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Link to our website on all social media can be found in the description box below. See you later.